All right, here it is. Here is some bonus content. Michael Zuber, you have some unique data. Tell us about it.
Yeah, I like data. I use data to kind of appreciate what I've already been through because I've been investing for 20 years and I like to see if the data relates to what I've done. I like looking at national information because, again, we help people around the country and right now around the world with one rental at a time. And I like to be challenged. Frankly, I created 40 years of real estate data about 3 weeks ago, but it was every 5 years. And it frankly didn't feel complete. And frankly, people were pointing at that. So I spent the last week or so creating 50 years of data. I chose 1970. I was born in the 70s. So I'm like, hey, let's go back to before I was born and let's go all the way through 2020. So we have 50 years of data that I want to share. And ultimately, we're going to share the data in its raw form. I'm going to share the data sources. So if you wanted to build this, you can see where I got the data. And then I've collected some min, max, high, low averages. And we're going to look at how we compare in 2020.
Love it. Love it.
All right. You ready to go? All right. So let's see if this works. I should be able to share this 50-year spreadsheet. There we go. And I'm going to actually minimize our view so we're out of the way. So can you see this now, Todd?
Yeah, I see it. Looks good.
All right, so folks, let me just give you a lay of the land of what we're looking at. We're going to look at 1970, which is column B, and then we have the data all the way to 2020. So what I've done is I've collected some metrics, and again, the data sources, you can see here, there's a tab called data sources. This is where the data came from. I took the links. If anybody wanted to, they could copy this and go look at where I got the data. I noted a few things because, again, median home price, they actually reported it every month. January 1st. So it was equal. This next one, it only had data from 1971. So I got 1970 data differently. So again, I've highlighted all the data. So if you wanted to, you can rebuild this yourself. But what I did is I asked, okay, what is home ownership rate? Again, that's a number that's been around for a while. As you will see, this goes up and down. But I want to know what was the average homeowner rate. Why? Because that is my competition for rental units. And again, I think homeownership is a good thing. I believe the more people are on the property ladder, the better. So I wanted to know that. Next, I captured the median home price. I was surprised to see this, but apparently the median home price for the country now, this is not California, this is not Mountain View, this is nationwide single family homes. The median home price in 1970, Ty, was $24,002. Can you believe that?
Wow. Yeah, crazy.
Yeah. And then what I did, folks, I calculated home appreciation. You do not see a rate there in 1970 because I did that. So 1970 is the base year. So that's it's like divisible by 0. So there's nothing there. But you can see I calculated that in 71. So in theory, in reality, the home price in 71, or 71, which was $25,786, is 7.4% higher than 1970. So I did that for every year. It is actually interesting. We have several negative years, which we will look at in a minute. Then, folks, I captured the average 30-year interest rate. Again, this is 30-year financing, fixed rate debt. It's hard to believe it was 8.5% in 1970. Down payment. This is now a variable, right? So you can see down here at the bottom, I can change this anytime I want. From 10% to 5% to 20%, whatever you want. It's a variable that I can change. I then calculate the finance amount, which is just math. It's 24,000 minus 2,400. Then I calculate your fixed rate 30-year payment. This is interesting because I believe real estate is not on price. It is on payment. So we will be looking at how this payment adjusts over time. I also calculated, or didn't calculate, I captured the average family of 4 income. And I had no idea that the average family income was only $8,700 in 1970.
Wow.
I can't believe that. I mean, that's like can you believe the average family of 4 lived on $8,000? There are people watching this channel that make that in a month. And people were making that as a family of 4 in 1970. So pretty crazy. Same thing with home appreciation. I wanted to calculate wage growth. And again, you do not see one in 1970 because that is the base rate. But you will see going forward is the average income in 1971 was $9,027, which is 3.4% higher than $8,733 in 1970. Almost done. Now what I'm doing, because for me, I need to calculate payment structure and how healthy the market is. So what I did is I took the average income, which is in this case, $8,733, and divided it by 12 because I want monthly. income. This is gross, not net. I don't know taxes. I couldn't calculate adjusted, so I took gross. What I wanted to calculate was payment, part of gross income. So in this case, the payment was $166, which is 22.8% of monthly gross, which is $727. Then, as some viewers correctly called out, they wanted to say what percent of down payment is of my income, because again, the down payment in this case in 1970 was $2,400, but I only made $8,733. So my down payment is 27% of my gross income. So those are the variables that I calculated across the board. So Ty, what year were you born?
1971.
Oh, well, there we go. So in 1971, you can see home ownership rate didn't change. The median price went up 7%. Interest rates went down. Down payment obviously went up because that's a fixed 10%. You're financing a little bit more. But look at that, Ty. The value went up, but payment went down. Payment went down $4. Again, very interest rate driven. You had wage growth of 3.4%. Your monthly gross went up. So again, your down payment, your payment, excuse me, as a percent of gross went down. So it's more affordable. However, the down payment went up because again, house price went up, but wages did not keep up. So that's what this tells you here. So you could do that same math going forward. Let's pick some interesting years. Let's pick 1978. 1978 is interesting because again, property values, I did not know this. I was very young. Home appreciation went up 16.6% in 1978. I had no idea. Did you?
No, I knew that there was a boom where things really took off, but now that actually, that kind of, if you see 75 to 78, 79, it's impressive.
Inflation. Yeah. And then, oh, by the way, what else happened in 78 is interest rates jumped a full point. And boy, did they jump the next year. Woo! Yeah, look at that, up to 11%. So what happened here is down payment went up, finance costs, your payment jumped. Look at your payment jump from year to year, right? Your payment went up, I don't know what that is, 30%. Your income went up slightly, right? And look at that wage growth. Wage growth was 11%, but still home appreciation was higher, but your payment really jumped. So for the first time, your payments really jumped. They were 23% the year before, now almost 26%. And, your down payment is now almost, it's heading towards 30% and actually hits 30%. If I would have chosen 79, the picture is even darker. Again, appreciation again, which again is inflation. If you know the 70s inflation, interest rates went up. They did double digits. Your wage growth did not keep up. Payments are now becoming a problem. You are probably getting no answers from a bank at 31%, and your down payment again is 30%. So the numbers are getting scary in 79. Look at 81. Oh my God, 81's a horrible year. 81, again, what is this? Interest rates are 16% in 81. I mean, I can't imagine a 16% interest rate. Home appreciation still up. Go ahead.
I was going to say in 81, I feel like was my first transaction. In 81, I was, let's call it 10 years old. And I remember my folks buying a property and, and I remember being very curious and, involved. And the interesting thing was that I felt that, or they overpaid for the property. Mm-hmm. But what was interesting is because they assumed.
Look at you.
Yeah, they assumed like an 8.5% mortgage.
Genius.
And it was, my folks trying to explain to me like, no, this 8.5% mortgage, oh my God, this is a home run, like a grand slam, and it's this little fixer house. Yeah. But, it was interesting
your
because
parents crushed it. Again, folks, this is about payments. And believe me, if you can borrow an 8.5 or assume a loan in an environment where it's 16.5, housing was unaffordable in 81. It just was. I mean, it was 46% of your income went to the payment. Nobody is getting a yes answer from a bank if you're doing 46%. You're not getting a yes answer in 82 either. Real estate market, when looking at these numbers, stopped in 81 or 82. And I was too young to remember, but again, I can read data and I've been borrowing money for a long time. You are not getting bank loans in 81 or 82. That makes sense?
Makes total sense. It makes sense too why that was interesting, but the whole assumption market, that was a big thing. And that was a big thing in the early 80s. Also, too, it's interesting that one of my first mentors, he had about 100 plus properties. And one of the things in his story, when I was asked, how did you do that? It was during this time, like the late 70s, early 80s. Mm-hmm. We were in a military town. And so people would come in, buy VA or buy FHA, and then they would leave. They would get transferred out and they wouldn't have much equity. So he would like basically almost like sub two, take over payments, assume. And that's how he amassed so many rentals during the early 80s.
And again, folks, what you should take from this is not that the interest rates spike, but again, we have people borrowing today at 3, even in the 2s. If interest rates go to 5, it's going to be a great time to assume loans, right? So again, these are all options that are coming around the corner. So what else should we talk about? So again, let's go to the first year where appreciation was negative. How about that? Let's go back here. So home appreciation, let's just scroll and find the first negative year. So 1991 was a negative year, negative 0.9. Let's go to what you and I know as the big bubble. There you go, 8.9%, 2009. People talk about the crash in 06. People need to realize that real estate doesn't crash like stocks or crypto. It takes time. So the real estate market pivoted in 06. It bled into 07. It went negative in 08. And then in 09, right? It went really bad. Interest rates are now 5%, right? And this is negative 8.9%. Real estate can go down. Interest rate 5%. Payments fell off a cliff because again, you have values falling and interest rate falling. It's kind of a double dip. Wage inflation was 5%. So again, you're actually feeling pretty good. You're only 20%. Your payment is 20% of take home, and your down payments are coming down, right? We're coming down from 40 to 43 to 41 now at 35%. So 09 was a great time to buy. 2010 was a great time to buy. But a lot of people were scared because values were falling. And look at this, values fell for how many years in a row?
Yeah.
What was that? 5 years in a row? 4 years? 5 years in a row.
Yep.
Yeah. So this is running a long time. All the data is here, but let's go to 2020, right? This is the whole reason I do these things. So first and foremost, we're at 65.8% home appreciation. Prices have gone up. In interest rate, this is home appreciation. Interest rates at 3%. This again is 2020, all of this. But let me go to where I really want to go because I know we're running short of time. I have something called high and low. And this was interesting to me. What year was home ownership the highest and what year was it the lowest? And then, oh, by the way, what is the 50-year average? And what are we doing today? So let's tick through all of this. The highest home appreciation rate was 69%. That was 2004. The lowest was 2015 at 63.7. And again, this is lowest over 50 years. But now I've been doing this. So what is the average over 50 years? The average home ownership is 65.4% over 50 years. So today, or at least in 2020, it's the last year, the full year has been complete. We are slightly above that. So I would call that healthy, right? We're in line. All right, now let's do home appreciation. Home appreciation, crazy enough, was highest in 1978, 16.6%. It was lowest in 2009, negative 8.9%. But what is the 50-year average? The 50-year average is 5.1%. Yep. What did we get in 2020? 6%. So running a little hot, but not crazy. Wage growth, because again, I'm a big believer in wages. We've got to be earning the money to pay for the bills. The highest wage growth was actually 2020, which shocked me. I actually think something's going on weird with the data with stimulus and all of this, but I don't have the data. I don't know how they calculated, but still, wage growth in 2020 was 14.3%. The lowest wage growth, Ty, was actually negative 8% in 2010. That shocked me. I remember 2010, the Great Recession. It was bad. It was bad. I did not realize that the average family of four's income went down 8%. Here's the average. The average, though, over 50 years is 4.6, which is interesting, right? The average home appreciation is 5.1. The average wage growth is 4.6. But you got to remember, homes are bought with leverage. You're not paying cash, at least most of the time. But 2020, it is running hot. Something went funny with the data. It's the only explanation. Average is 4.6. Average wage growth in 2020 was 14.3. This is not normal. Something went wonky in 2020. Now, interest rates. Highest was in 1981, 16.4. Lowest in this calculation was 2020. The average interest rate tie for 30 years is 7.9%, and we are half that today.
Yep.
What I watch is the bottom two. What is the average percent of payment of growth? Gross. So again, 1981, you were not buying housing, at least not with bank financing, because you were spending 46% of your income on house payments. No bank is going to lend to you. When was the lowest? 2020, last year. Crazy. Wage growth was so high that you were only spending 16%. And the average, folks, is 25%. 50-year average, you were spending about 25% of your gross on your mortgage payment, which is about right. And banks will lend at 25%. And then finally, down payment. This is a big deal to me because, again, a lot of people have a hard time saving for a down payment. The highest percent of down payment as far as income was actually 2007 at 43%. I did not expect that. That is the year housing rolled over. 1974 was the lowest. I did not expect that either. The lowest was 1974. And then the average is 32%. So again, the average down payment, if you make 100 grand, given this is 32,000 bucks, given where you are. And again, in 2020, we were running a little hot at 34%. So this is what I did, 50 years of data. If you want to look at any one more year specifically, happy to do it, but this is what I was thinking.
This is amazing. Great work, great research. Thank you for taking the time. And it's interesting too that Michael, being that we're both, I think, we grew up in the 70s and 80s.
Yep.
But I think too, just historically, we had hyperinflation. We had, all this economic uncertainty during the 70s and 80s.
Yeah. We had high inflation. I want to be specific, not high inflation.
High inflation. What's the difference? High inflation versus hyper?
I consider hyperinflation kind of triple digits, certainly more than 50%. That is something that, at least in my experience in the US, hasn't had. We've had high inflation, but not hyper. Sorry.
But not hyperinflation. So when we hear hyperinflation, it's places like Venezuela
or it's people just trying to scare you. Yeah.
Or it's puff. Okay, well, that's good. I'm glad. Again, we're always learning. Michael, thank you for putting that data together. I think it's so relevant because we're in such a uncertain time, but I love the way that you show, really, this all goes back to something we've been talking about for the last 6-9 months, which is the market is really based on affordability.
Mm-hmm. It's about payment, folks. It's about payment. It's always been about payment. I now have 50 years to show that. And oh, by the way, when you really look at this, you can compare this market to any year in the past. And again, 2020 was a good year for real estate, but as far as affordability, it's below average. It is very affordable today.
Very affordable. As always, Michael, thank you for all the research. Thank you for all those details. Folks, one rental at a time. Please do yourself a favor, buy the book. If you really enjoy the content here, thumbs up, let Michael know, share in the comments, share the show. So much great content, Michael. Thank you for all you do for YouTube community, for all the Facebook, for everybody, all the students in your course. Thank you for all that you do.
Thanks, buddy. Take care.